Hello and welcome back to another Notion video. Thanks for showing up. My name is Carter Srirac. I'm the productive dude here on YouTube. In today's video, we are going to be tackling Notion databases. Notion databases can be confusing when you're first starting out, but in this video, it's my goal to help you understand databases so that you can really start creating some awesome things with Notion. That's really when the power is going to get unlocked with Notion, is when you start understanding how to use databases. So let's jump right into it. So first, how am I personally using databases right now? Well, here are some examples. First and foremost, I use it as a task tracker. This is really nice. I can just click tasks away as I complete them, and I can bring them back. Command Z if I want to. You can organize tasks by type, by priority, and by all sorts of different properties. And you also notice that I've got different icons here. And this is even an animated icon right here, as you can see. My girlfriend and I also use a Notion database for our groceries. So here we just get a good idea of what we have in stock at our house and what's out of stock. And then we can also see what the best points/deals are for each of these items. And we can get an idea of what store to go to get these items as well. This has all been thought out strategically to try to maximize the amount of points that we're getting and whatnot, and to make sure that we're getting our favorites when we go out to get groceries as well. That leads me to our next section, which is a food recipes database. In the food recipes database, I basically just keep lists of ingredients and instructions for making some of our favorite meals. Cool thing about this is I have all sorts of different tags in here, and I can also sort by like favorites if I want to, as you can see. Another way that I've been using Notion is as a way to keep inventory of all of my houseplants. So when I click on one of these, it'll give a brief description of it. It'll tell if, what kind of sunlight it needs, what kind of watering it needs, how it propagates, is it pet safe, what kind of fertilizer does it require, etc. And then we have, unfortunately, a status down here of alive or dead because, I was not the best houseplant keeper when I first started getting houseplants. So some of our houseplants are dead now. But as you can see, this gets super powerful and it's a really cool database. Now, the next database that I want to show you is my watch gallery. And this is similar to the plants. It just has some properties on here and a nice picture of each of my watches that are in my collection. Fun fact, I bought this one for $450, and this watch is now worth around $2,000 if you have a mint, completely new one. Last time I checked the price, so that's exciting. I don't have a mint watch. It's not in mint condition. I wear it. But yeah, that's just one of my hobbies is trying to find watches that are priced moderately high, not like super high-end luxury watches, but moderately high-priced watches and then reselling them, or at least wearing them and enjoying them while they go up in value. So those are some ideas of some of the databases that I've personally created using Notion. Now, before we start talking about how to use databases, I need to explain the different types of databases that you can create. So there are two types of databases. There are inline databases and full-page databases. So an inline database is basically a database that you can add anywhere on any page. All you have to do is click in an empty block, hit / and then start typing inline. When you do that, it will pull up inline databases, and you can choose which view you want to pull up for a database. So if I wanted to do an inline calendar, I could do so. And a calendar is just a type of database. It's just a way to view a database. We'll talk more about views in a little bit. But anyways, that is an inline database. You can also get an inline database just by hitting the little plus button next to the block and then scrolling down until you find databases inline. Now, the next type of database is a full page database. And this is what I always recommend you use for your databases because this is the best kind, in my opinion. A full page database can be stored somewhere, and then you can actually pull it out and you can put it wherever you want. For instance, this is a full page database. I just have it linked to my home page right now. So if I click into it, you'll notice that it's a full-fledged database of all of my past tasks. So in order to create a full page database, all you have to do is create a new page. So if I do / and then start typing page, you'll see that that's a block type. So I can click page, And then from there, I can select which type of database I want to create. These are just different ways to view the database. There are 6 views. There's table, board, list, calendar, gallery, and timeline. I'm just going to go with table for now. I'm going to call this full page table database in parentheses, because I don't want to confuse you guys with all of the different views. These are all, very simply put, these are all databases. They're just different ways of looking at a database. So we have our full page table database. I'm going to go back to my home page, and you'll see that that is stored here as a page. If I click into it, you can see it, and you can't add to this because it's a full page. It's just the database. I can't do anything else with this page. But if I wanted to, I could actually embed that right here on my home page just by hitting / and then starting to type linked. And then once you get create linked database, you can click on that. And here I could type in table, or whatever I named that, full page table database. Yeah, and then it's going to pull it up right here. And then if I start adding names in here, Carter, John, Sarah, etc., and then I go back to my full page table, you'll see that that has dynamically updated. So that's why I recommend using full page databases instead of using inline databases, because if you delete an inline database, it's pretty much just gone forever. Bottom line is 9 out of 10 times I would just use a full page database unless you just need a quick temporary inline database. And if that'll do the trick, then you don't really need to worry about it. Next, let's talk about database properties. There's tons of different ways that you can actually manipulate the data within your database, and those different ways of manipulating it are called properties. So in order to give a quick example of this, I'm actually just going to create a new full page database. All right, I'm going to call this database bookcase. So this will just be a list of all the books that I've ever had, and I'm going to have a lot of different properties associated with those books so that I can use this to its full potential, and I can really go through and view it as I want to view it. So let's start out by just typing page, hit enter, and I'm going to call this bookcase. All right, and we can choose a little icon. Just go with the book here. And we're just going to click table under database right there. And this column will be book name. Okay, this first column that you get in a database is a mandatory column, meaning you can't get rid of this. You need to have at least one column that creates pages. So this column creates pages is what it does. So each page will be a book in our case. So I'm just going to enter some books here. Reality Transurfing. All right, so now I've got some book titles in here. Now, what you'll notice next is it automatically includes this tags column. I'm just going to delete that for now. And what we're going to do next is we're just going to add a property type of number. Okay, so this is the next one down. You have text and then you have number. Text is pretty self-explanatory. It's just, you know, like I'll actually show you an example. So if we wanted to put something like book summary, we could choose text. And now that this is a text column, I could just write a quick summary of Reality Transurfing. Maybe I would just do like a 1-sentence summary for each of these. All right, great. So now I have some strings in here, which a string is basically just a line of text. So that's really all this is it's a text property. So those are our book summaries listed out here. The next property that I want to talk about is the number property. So if I click on the number property and then I change the name here, I could create one for pages. And then I could just enter the amount of pages for each book. So I'm going to do that really quick. All right, now I have some pages in there. You can also format number columns differently. So if you don't want just like a regular whole number, I could create a whole column for, let's just say I wanted to create a column for something like price, and then I could put the price of the book. So I believe this one was like a $50 book. I could put that, and then I could change this by clicking this little button. I could change the format to US dollars, for instance. I'm just going to enter some arbitrary numbers in here. So those are some of the different ways that you can interact with number columns or number properties. All right, now that we've got basic numbers and text out of the way, let's look at a select property. So there's two different types of select properties. There's the select property and then the multi-select property. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The select property allows you to select one item from a list, and multi-select allows you to select multiple items from lists. This is good for if you're tagging something with a bunch of different identifiers. The select is better if you're trying to share the status or the state of something. So I might create a select column if I was just trying to create a column for like genre or something, because that's something that's just not going to change. So this book is like a self-help book. So there's self-help, business, and personal branding. So those are all the different genres. And if I click on one of them specifically, you can only select one at a time for this genre column. Now, if I wanted to, I could create a multi-select property, and this would be good for something like tags. So tags, for instance, would be something like favorite, or nighttime read, or easy read. So those are some different ways that you can tag a book, and then you can search for it later. So the good thing is like you can come in here and you can delete these. I would say this is a good nighttime read, definitely not an easy read. I would say it's a favorite of mine. All right, so now I've got some tags in here. So as you can see, you can add multiple tags, or you can add a single tag if you wanted to. And it doesn't matter how many you add. It's just a way of describing what it is that you are adding this property to. So in this case, it's this book name. Now, there are also date columns. So if I wanted to, I could create a date column for the published date. So publishing date. And then I could just enter those in. I'm just going to, again, just put some arbitrary dates in here for publishing. Obviously, these aren't correct, but just as a placeholder. Another way that you can use dates is to cover a span of time. So not just a single date, but maybe we have a goal to complete these books in a certain amount of time. I could create a reading time date, and then I could put multiple dates on it. So let me show you what that would look like. So let's just select date. I'm going to name it reading time. And then I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to click on include end date. And then I can add a start date. So October 5th, and I can add an end date of the 31st. There's a few other options when it comes to dates. So if I click into date for this publishing date here, as you can see, I can also add a reminder that's going to send me a notification on that particular day or a day before or so on. I can also include a time for this specific date. So that drills down even further if you want it to. And you can format this here. It's based on the time zone, or date. I'm not going to do that for now. We've got our publishing date and our reading time. The next type of property that I wanted to share is the person property. So if I click into here and I click person, the person property is going to allow me to just link to a person that's on my Notion team or that's associated with my Notion account. So I'm just going to name this owner. So it'll be the owner of the book. And since I'm the owner on all of these, I'm just going to enter myself as the owner. There's a few other properties that I want to share. So if I add another property here, you'll notice that there's files and media, checkbox, URL, email, and phone. These are all pretty self-explanatory, I think. Files and media, you can just upload files and images and whatnot. Checkbox, it's just a box that's either checked or it's not checked. This would actually be good to add if I hit checkbox here, and I could make a complete column. This is nice because if I finish reading a book, I can just check complete, and then I'll know that I've already finished that book. Moving on, there's also URL, email, and phone, which is pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know how I can associate these with a bookshelf, so I'm not going to add them for today. These more advanced options down here we'll get into a little bit later. But these last edited by, last edited time, created by, and created time are actually pretty simple. They just dynamically update based on exactly what it says. So if I added created time, it would show the exact time that I input these particular book names. If I change this to, let's just say, created by, it would show who added them. Next, I want to talk a little bit about database views. There are 6 total views. There's 6 ways to actually view a database, and I'm going to share each one right now and kind of share why you might want to use one over the other. So right now we are looking at a table database. That's the current view. Tables are good for viewing all of your data in one place, and they're also good for editing the database. So right now, since I just got done filling all this information in, a table is super useful for that. You can add information in on other databases, but a table is nice because you can see it all in one place. And it's just really easy to hit new and kind of enter that in and see how it relates to everything else in the table. If I click add view up here, I can add like a board view, for instance, and hit create. And then it will separate it into whatever my select property was. So if I have a select property of genre, it's going to organize it into different genres so that I have lists based on the genres, which is pretty cool. So that's the board view. If I don't want to see this, I can hit hide on that no genre, which is a little nicer, I think. And in this view, I could also add a completely new genre. So to do that, I would just hit add a group, and then I could name it like autobiography. So that's what the board view is kind of nice for. You can also use the board view to view statuses. So if you have a project in the works and you wanted to create a bunch of different pages, then each page could be a task. And each of these headers, instead of being a genre, could be a step in a process. So it could be not started, working, and complete, for instance. Now I'm going to add a timeline view. So the timeline view is pretty neat. If I hit create, this is how we will see it. And I'm just going to scroll back to wherever these are located. Right now, it's basing it on publishing date. But if I wanted to, I could change this to reading goal. And then it's going to show us our reading goals. So if you remember right, I set a span for the dates. So these 3 books, I have X amount of time to work on. And then Essentialism and The Outsiders book, I've got a time crunch. So if I wanted to, I could drag these out, and that would actually dynamically change the date. So that's pretty neat. Let's say I wanted all of them to catch up with Expert Secrets, because I don't mind if I finish them all by December. Let's just drag that. So you get the idea. This is just a way to view dates in a very interesting way. Right now I'm viewing it by reading goal, but I could also view it by publishing date, and I could see how far apart all of these truly are. It's kind of nice that you can click these arrows on the side too. If something is super far back in time, like this one's 1999, I can click all the way back to 1999. Next, we're going to talk about the calendar view. Calendar view is similar to timeline in the sense that it's dealing with dates. I like this for reading goal because it's basically a view of the timeline that you can get in the form of a calendar. However, this would also work well for publishing date. So since the publishing dates aren't really around these times, it doesn't really make sense to use it. But if I wanted to, I could view in a calendar all of the books by a publishing date. And if I wanted to also add them by publishing date, I can come in here and let's say a book came out today, I could add it as an item. I could give it its name. I could give it its summary. I could give it a genre, today, book, owner, pages. And as you can see, once I get down to publishing date, it's already there because all I had to do was hit that little plus button. And we're going to move on to the next view, which is list. Now, the list view is one of my favorite views because it really allows you to see everything just laid out so nicely. And in my opinion, the list view is best if you are filtering, sorting, or searching through data. So right now, you just get a very basic list of all of the books, and you get their genre on the side. If I click on properties, I can add all of the properties that I want to add so that they're visible on the side as well. Then, for instance, if I wanted to, let's actually get rid of some of these properties. Let's just keep price, and pages, let's just say. From there, I will just see the page amount and the price. So then, now that I've got those properties showing, what I can do is I can hit sort, add a sort, and then I can sort them by, let's just say, pages, ascending or descending. So let's say we're starting with the most pages and we're working our way down. But let's say, so now it's just 765 is at the top, 251 being the least amount of pages is at the bottom. I can also add another layer of sorting if I wanted to. So I'd hit add sort. And maybe I also want to sort by price. So I want to figure out descending price as well. So you'll notice that with this sorting, it's going to show us pages descending. So it's going to start with the highest amount of pages and work its way down. But after it does that, the next level of sorting is pricing. So price descending, right? So price and page number is the highest for reality transurfing, so of course it's going to be at the top. Now we've got this Expert Secrets book here, which is $10, but that's in the middle. And that's because it has 268 pages. Whereas the Outsiders is still in the bottom, even though the price is higher than Expert Secrets, and same with Essentialism, the price is higher. Expert Secrets just has a few more pages than these two. So that's why it's outranking it, because we've chosen pages descending as the top sorting factor, and then price descending is the next one. If I wanted to switch how this came out, I could drag price descending up front, and then it would sort them in pricing order first, and then it would sort them by page number. And then you can also add filters. Now filters will basically get rid of different items. So we can filter based upon, let's just say, like which books have we read and which books have we not read, so that we can create a list view of books that we've read and a list view of books that we haven't read yet. So in order to do that, we would go to filter, and I'd hit add a filter, and we're going to go to complete. And if it is not checked, that means we still haven't read it, for instance. So now we have a list of everything that we haven't read, but if we wanted to, I could create a new list view, and I could name it list view already read, hit create, and then I could go into filter, add a filter where complete is checked. So now I can toggle between these two, already read and the ones that I haven't read yet, because there's filters on them. This filter is showing me everything that's already read. This filter is showing me everything that I haven't read yet. I'm going to remove this filter here, and then I'm going to turn on properties for everything. And I just want to show you how the search bar works really quick. So the search bar, if I start typing in it, like a word like disciplined, it's going to pull discipline out of text. If I started typing something like self-help, it would pull that out of these different select tags. It also pulls from these tags over here. So if I were to type reference, it would pull up that reference. And it will also pull from like the title specifically. So essentialism, I could type that in and it would only show essentialism. I believe you can search by year as well. So like if I went 1999, it's just going to show this one 1999. If I did 10, it's just going to show this $10 one. And I could also search by page numbers. So let's say 260 pages. Boom. If I typed my name in here, it would show up for everything because Carter Sriracha is the associated name with all of these different books. So that is how you use the search bar. Now there's one remaining database view that we haven't looked at yet, and that is galleries. Now galleries are good for if you want to show off like the cover of a book. So if I wanted to, I could take a picture of Expert Secrets. I could take a picture of Essentialism, and I could put those right in here in my bookcase. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to add a view, and I'm going to create a gallery. And this will just be a bookshelf view. So I'll be able to see all of my books here. I can turn on properties, so I could turn on genre if I wanted to. I could turn on pages, whatever I want really, summary. You can change the order of this as well, so if you wanted the genre to show up above, you could do that. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click into Essentialism here, and this is where I want to put that picture of Essentialism. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take a quick picture on my phone. I've got an iPhone and I'm using a MacBook, so this will be quick entry because all I have to do is take a picture and then I can airdrop it to my MacBook. Now from here I can just drag it in and it's going to pull up that picture of the book. And then it will also show up here, and I can hit reposition and drag that into frame if I wanted to. And I could get better pictures of these. And that's actually what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to take some pictures so that you can see what the gallery looks like in full swing. All right, and then once I have all my pictures on my desktop, I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to add them in the first line here. Now, as you can see, this is a great use case for the gallery because now I can see all of the covers of the books and I can still search for them by whatever I wanted to. So for instance, I could just search self-help and I could see all my self-help books. Next, I want to go in depth on how to relate databases. Now, this is where Notion can get unworldly and just super powerful. So let's say we had a bookcase and then we wanted to link that bookcase with some notes. So I could create a separate database for notes. I'm just going to create a page very quickly here. I'm going to call it list of notes, and we're going to create some different notes in here. So this might be chapter 1 notes of reality transurfing, and then I would enter some notes here. This one might be notes on outsiders, and I could even enter a title like what makes them different. And then let's say I had some personal and MBA notes. Let's do 1, everything you need to know without college. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm actually going to create a personal MBA notes 2. Everything you know without college, 2x. Okay, so these are some notes, just very basic notes. And if I wanted to, I could go back to my home page, go into my bookcase, and I could link those notes up with the specific books that I was talking about. So for outsiders, if I come into this one here and I add a property, I could create a property of relation. Now what that's going to do is going to pull up this select a database button, and I can just select a database and I could type in list of notes. Now that list of notes is going to pop up and I can hit create relation. And then I'm going to call this property notes. Now what this is going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to come in here and just add whatever notes are associated with the outsiders. So boom, I'm going to add that one in there. And now you'll see that I have my notes link. And if I come look at this book here, for instance, I can always click on whatever notes I want, and it will show me exactly where that's located. And I can even open them up like that. And then you'll also notice that on this end, the notes end, it's going to say related to book. So I'm just going to type book. So what book is it related to? The Outsiders. Now we can bounce between the Outsiders and my notes. If I wanted to, I could also add multiple notes. So since we have 2 for the personal MBA, I'm going to add that one and that one. And you'll notice that it adds both of these notes in here. So I can go and check those out if I wanted to. Last but not least, let's link our reality transurfing note. And then I can go into properties. We can turn notes on. And then it's going to show all the linked notes underneath that have to do with that book. So if I wanted to, I could look at reality transurfing as a whole, read a little bit about some of its properties, and then I could open up the notes and I could read what notes I had to offer here. All right, so that's that. I hope that you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, especially Notion videos. I've got tons of those. And yeah, just let me know if you guys have any ideas for databases as well. Just comment below. Let me know what you're going to be using databases for, or what you're already using databases for. And at the very least, I hope that this video was very helpful and informative if you're new to using Notion and databases. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.